Okay, so it's time for us to go ahead and get back into our coverage over the X-Men, right? And so we're going to pick up with X-Men issue number 79. Now, here's the thing, because this issue right here for me is kind of like, okay, we knew that sooner or later we got to see Storm and like Callisto and also Marrow sit down and like talk it out because when it came to Storm and Marrow, there is a lot of beef between the two characters, and let me explain. You see, there was a whole storyline called Gene Nation. Now, that storyline right there, I'm not going to sit down and try to explain the whole idea of it, but just know that Gene Nation was just the second generation of Morlocks who came back into the main Marvel universe and wanted to kill off a massive group of humans. And the thing was, Marrow was leading that group. And so for Storm, she had to step in because in the earlier storyline done by Chris Claremont, Storm was technically the leader of the Morlocks. And so with the Morlocks going out of their way to kill off humans, she had to step in. But she also had to pull out one of the hearts of Marrow as a way to stop her. Now, we were kind of left to believe at first that Marrow died, but of course she did not die. But then after all of that happened, you had Callisto ask Marrow to officially join the X-Men, which she did. But here's the thing, because when it comes to the idea of Marrow joining the X-Men, she still hates the X-Men, but she especially hates Storm because of her mindset, Storm is a failure as a leader. And let me explain why. Because there was a storyline before Gene Nation where you had Mikhail, the brother to Colossus, had supposedly killed off all the Morlocks. But in reality, he took them and himself into a different dimension where, of course, that led into the whole idea of Gene Nation because time had moved differently in that other dimension. But either way, to Marrow, she feels like Storm is a failure as a leader. And so even though Marrow did join the X-Men, she still looks at Storm as a failure of a leader. But as we get into the opening pages of this issue, we're really picking up with Marrow at the moment right now, just attacking random humans. Like, for example, she cuts off this girl's hair. Now, the reason why, because the girl was talking bad about the idea of mutants, but it's still wrong for Marrow to go ahead and cut the girl's hair off. But anyways, you have Marrow kind of acting out at the moment. And we're kind of left to wonder like, okay, she's acting out, but is someone going to stop her or not? And so then we switch over to Storm and also Callisto. Now, for Callisto, she was the leader of the Morlocks, but you had Storm kind of replace her once Storm had defeated her in a battle. But when it came to Callisto, she kind of looks at Marrow as a daughter to her. But for Callisto, it was her who told Marrow, like, you should go ahead and join the X-Men for the whole idea of having a somewhat normal life, but away from the idea of being a Morlock. Now, for Callisto, she was also badly injured. And so for Marrow, she hated the idea of leaving Callisto's side. Now, once you had Callisto being able to get healed up, she did pay Marrow a visit at the school of Charles Xavier. But for Marrow, she believed that Callisto came there to take her away. But in reality, it was really more just Callisto checking in on Marrow. We also kind of get the idea that for Callisto, she's right now trying to, well, run away from her problems because something or someone is trying to come after her possibly. Because like I said, when it came to Marrow, she was badly injured all the way back in issue number 346 when it came to Uncanny X-Men. But then out of nowhere, this mysterious character was kind of doing different things to her as a way to help her heal up, but also had his own plans for her down the road. But this is him right now finding out that Callisto had officially disappeared. And for him, he's very upset about the idea of her being gone. Now, something else we do have to talk about is the idea of the possibility of Marrow and also Cannonball getting together. And the reason why I'm saying that because for Marrow, she does have a crush on Cannonball. And for Cannonball, he's somebody who had just recently broken up with Meltdown, or better known as Boom Boom, who's on the X-Force team, who's also dating his best friend. Like, dude, that is pretty messy. But when it comes to the idea of Cannonball, he's also right now trying to find Marrow. And so once she does see him, she's kind of like, ooh, it's my crush. You know what? I got a great idea. let's play a game real quick. I'll run away and he has tried to chase me down. And so once he does see her, he does try his best to go after her. Now, again, for a Cannonball, we're also kind of hinting at the idea that there's a possibility that he has a crush on her as well. Now, I want to switch over to Beast, Maggot, and also Dr. Reyes. Really, it's very fast and quick here because it's the idea the bugs that belong to Maggot have continued to eat almost all the different books that belong to Dr. Reyes. We also kind of get the idea of the possibility that Maggot may have some kind of crush on Dr. Reyes. That's just my personal opinion there. But now we do shift over to Callisto and also Storm as they have their conversation about the idea that Storm and the X-Men didn't really try to help out Sarah, better known as Marrow, because Marrow does not look normal enough. You see, it's Callisto saying that for the X-Men, most members of the team, they can go out into society and still look somewhat normal. And people are not going to know that technically they are a mutant, like Jean Grey, Cyclops, or Wolverine. Now, when it comes to Beast and Nightcrawler, that whole entire argument goes out the window. But it's really more Callisto also saying that for Storm, she had failed when it came to saving Marrow's life. Because again, it was the idea of Marrow coming back as Gene Nation, or as the leader of Gene Nation, and attacking a group of humans. Now, for Storm, it's her saying she had no other choice. She had to stop Marrow by pulling out her heart as a way to save that group of humans. But now we had to switch over to Cannonball and Marrow. Now for Cannonball, he does find Marrow, right? But here's the problem though, because once he does find Marrow, it's really more Marrow getting that wake-up call, because it's her kind of realizing that everyone has a struggle in their life. Because when she looks at Cannonball, she says, you know what, I do have a crush on him, but he is somebody who has no struggles at all. And the reason why, because one, he looks normal enough. Two, he has a family. He has people that love him. Now, for Marrow, she kind of feels like she does not have that person to get loved on. She has Callisto, but Callisto is not trying to take Marrow with her. And so for Marrow, it's kind of like, I don't have that person to love me. I don't have that person in my corner to be there for me. But also it's her saying like, you have no struggles. Now, we have learned that for Cannonball, his mom right now has a disease that she's technically dying. And so for Cannonball, it's him saying like, listen, my mom is dying and I should be there with her right now by her side. But the problem is, here I am right now, spending my time with you, trying to help you out. We all have struggles. Now, while you do have the two characters talking to one another, well, that is when you have two police officers appear. But before we're able to kind of like explore the idea of those two cops being there, we gotta switch over to Maggot again. Now, it's really more Beast kind of offering Maggot the chance to go to the other school of Charles Xavier. The school that's technically made right now to train the young mutants. Oh, I don't know. The idea of Generation X. So it's kind of like, hey, is there a possibility that Maggot might join Generation X? But when we do switch over to Cannonball, Marrow, and the two police officers, well, this begins the idea of like Marrow fully understanding that everyone has struggles, because these two police officers, they were in Operation Zero Tolerance. Now, when their precinct got blown up, they were in the hospital for weeks. And then they had to get cleared physically and mentally to just get back out there in the field. But the problem was that they were not really okay mentally. One of them is so scared now that every single time he hears something, he wants to pull out his gun. And so it's kind of showing that these guys, they also have struggles as well. People who look normal don't have it easy, that everyone has some kind of struggle. And so once she kind of realized that, she begins to apologize. Now for Marrow, this is major character development, because her character was not really somebody who felt remorse when someone else was going through some kind of struggle. And so for Marrow, for her to say sorry to the police officers for what happened back in Operation Zero Tolerance is a huge moment for her. Now it's also her being confronted by Callisto and Storm. And you have Callisto and Marrow establish the idea that Marrow is going to stay with the X-Men. And so with her staying with the X-Men is also
also her and Storm trying their best to begin a new road together, with the idea of peace being between the two characters. But you do have the book kind of end on the note where you have Cannonball take Marrow back to the school of Charles Xavier, and you have Storm follow. But as the book closes, we see our mysterious shadow character, the one who was supposedly helping out Callisto to heal, well, he also was watching the X-Men, especially for Marrow.